Okay, time for the next lesson. This one's not that difficult. But living poor, being self sufficient is another way to put it. Spending as little money as possible. Something you can do with food, which, considering the price of groceries lately, probably be very useful to you. If, well, something that's not difficult at all to do is to grow a garden. And you don't need a plot of land outside to grow a garden. Last time I did it, I took a bunch of 5-gallon pails next to a big patio door where the light came in. And I tried a bunch of different things as an experiment along with the help of a guy who actually had a garden outside. We planted the same seeds, different types of soil. We compared our harvests and our harvest times and how long stuff took to do. And it turns out we're getting about the same yields per plant. What we found out is the soil we had at the time, the area we were in, the amount of light we had. We were really good at growing potatoes and tomatoes, which, two things that are useful. Potatoes work as a staple. And out of a 5-gallon pail and 4 pieces of seed potato, after season, I got 5 pounds of potatoes roughly from each bucket. Which, that worked out well. And here, with this big window, I may actually have space to put more 5-gallon pails down and do more potatoes and more tomatoes. Say, I could do probably 10 buckets altogether, just shift the garbage and recycling to somewhere else and set it up there. The good thing about doing it indoors like that is I don't have to wait for the planting season to start. As soon as there's enough sunlight, it's evening now, but as soon as there's enough sunlight coming in, I can plant them. Even without sunlight, I got lights. That's good enough. As long as it's warm enough inside, I can start growing them in, say, February. By the time it's warm enough for everybody else to plant outside, I can just carry the buckets out, and they've already been growing for a couple of months. Other things that grow really easily. Kale. And it grows right up into winter, and you're picking it through the snow, if you like kale. I personally don't, but it's something you can have as a staple. Mushrooms. There are kits and stuff you can pick up or just find out how they work and duplicate it yourself to grow mushrooms indoors all year round, which is very useful and good and important. Because that stuff, especially if you do it yourself, you pick some wild mushrooms, types you can eat, like morels or oysters or lion's mane that grow around here. Get some of the mycelia, the little roots, the little wispy-looking spiderwebby things. Get some of that, mix it up with some sawdust or whatever substrate it's supposed to grow in. Pop it in a plastic bag and seal it. Let it grow. As long as it's in the right temperature range, it will just grow, and you'll have free food. Another thing that I personally do, and I'm going to be doing a lot more of it in the coming seasons. Oh, coming up to spring, so yeah, I'm going to be doing a lot more of it, is fishing. A fishing license costs a little bit, unless you're in Canada and native. Then you don't need a license, just go fishing or hunting, whatever you want. But fishing. Fishing license here, I think it cost me about $50 for saltwater and freshwater total. $50, $60, something like that. And then you can go out every day when you have a chance. You can go down to whatever waterway or lake or pond or the shore of the ocean and just fish. And keep what you catch and eat it. Here we can also get crabs in various places. I know that. But you can catch crab. There's also the shoreline forage. Limpets, clams, mussels. I'm pretty sure there's razor clams around here too, and oysters. So you never know. You might dig up an oyster and get a big pearl, get rich. But yeah, it's various types of food you can get. Forage for wild greens, but grow a garden. Go fishing. My little project with the fish bucket and fish pond and stuff that I had done previously, in half a barrel, that was a test run. If I could, and it worked with the outdoor thing. I couldn't keep fish alive in that little tank to save my life, but with the outdoor setup, I was able to keep a couple of fish alive in there for several months. My plan is to catch something in a pond, something tiny, put it in, I got a 45-gallon drum I can cut top off of, fill it with water, put an aerator in it, and then I can use that to, if I catch fish that are small, I can keep feeding them until they get bigger. Keep them a year or two, I will have a meal. And, you can feed fish scraps, flour, vegetable scraps, meat scraps, flour. You can feed them whatever, and they'll grow. Feed them bugs, they'll grow. But yeah, there's lots of ways to get free, well, not necessarily free food, but grow your own food. If you have the ability to have chickens, you could have eggs every day. If you can get them laying. But yeah, go fishing. Hunt small game if you can in the area you live in. I was living in a city that will remain nameless that had a large population of pigeons. Pigeons, if you are outside of Europe, if you are in North America, pigeons are technically an invasive species. So there's no rule against killing them. And squab, if you buy it in a specialty grocery store, is pigeon. It's bloody expensive if you buy it, but if you get a fishing net and go to a park and drop some popcorn, you can get a free meal. Can't be squeamish about being broke, about spending little money. The less you spend, the more work you have to put into it. But you can get pigeon for your meat. You can grow your own potatoes, tomatoes, squash, pumpkin, whatever grows well in your area, in the soil you have available to put in buckets, indoors, or the garden outside. So you can get free food that way. Or free-ish food. You don't got to pay cash, you put in the work instead. There's also, if you look in your area for, well, let's see, when I was living in Vancouver, I found out there's a bunch of different supposedly decorative trees planted along the sides of a lot of the roads in the suburban areas. The street that I had lived on was plum trees. So we got buckets and buckets of plums every year. 2 blocks over, there was walnut trees. We got those every year. 3 blocks in another direction, there were apple trees. So we're eating Granny Smith apples for free all the time. There's always freely available or wild foods growing in various areas. One thing in BC constantly is blackberries. There are like 14 different varieties of raspberry-type fruit all over BC, in the cities and not. I even found at one point one of the wild grasses that grows around BC and like around telephone poles and on the medians in the streets, and people that don't mow the lawn. It's emmer wheat. So if you have the wherewithal, you can even collect wheat and make your own bread without spending any money. You just have to spend the effort to put it together. But yeah, grow tomatoes, grow potatoes, grow carrots, grow whatever you can grow. Save yourself the money from the grocery store. Be a lot more self-sufficient, a lot more self-reliant. Keep more of your money in the bank and less of it going towards feeding and supplying and supporting yourself. So that's the next lesson. I think this is lesson number 13, and we'll talk to you next time.